The Sequoia National Forest is known for its outdoor splendor, its beauty. It offers the outdoor recreation, hiking, and camping that Californians have enjoyed for decades. But an epidemic is destroying the forest's ecology and flooding the nation with drugs. Law enforcement's been battling marijuana grow sites on public lands. Recently, the Joint Task Force invited the media to go and observe firsthand these conditions and dangers they undergo to fight the war on drugs.
The Tulare County Sheriff's Office ushered the media up a windy mountain road past Springville to an open field outlooking the mountains over a clear blue sky. There, 3 helicopters were ushering in law enforcement personnel into the ridge of the mountain where they found the marijuana grow.
The area known as the Landing Zone, or LZ in cop talk, a mile or so of heavy dense brush separated the police hub with the growth of marijuana on public land. On this day, 15 agencies, local, state, and federal, are in the middle of a 2-week operation to wipe out the drug growers. Tulare County Sheriff Sergeant Jim Franks says it takes hours of preparation.
Well, usually we have 2 12-hour training days, and then the rest is just on the job. They'll be in the middle of a group going into a garden, so they just pick it up as they go along.
The troopers are well prepared. They dress in camouflage, hiking boots, carry enough water and food to survive, overnight equipment in case they have to spend the night, a first aid kit, cutting tools to make their way through the brush, a bulletproof vest, and a gun and less lethal weapon. The equipment can weigh as much as 40 pounds. But the most dangerous element is the unknown, Frank says.
I mean, the biggest danger obviously is us being shot at, because we can't control that. We know every garden we go into, we find signs of weapons. There's always weapons in gardens, so we know that going into it, and that's one of the dangers that we can't control.
While the eradication effort may take all day long, the most time-consuming part takes place long before any troops set foot in the forest.
You have to put in the recon time, and we may put in 15 to 20 hours of recon time to find one garden. If we're going to do the full-blown investigation, the hours add up really quick.
2 of the drug officers are ready to leave the landing zone and head for their mission. The helicopter hovers hundreds of feet overhead, dangling a short haul line. The men then hook themselves to the rope, and away they went, dangling at the bottom, flying miles into another LZ.
Take a look. I was trying to find that landing spot we were talking about for to walk under these trees across this drainage. And this is the garden area right here, right under the line. I've got it. I'm going to go ahead and shoot a couple of broaches in there.
Now it was the media's turn. About 10 members, including myself, were briefed by Lieutenant Marsh Carter.
The only landing zone that we have even close up here is about 200 yards from where the plants are going to be at. From there, it's a hands and knees crawl into where the plants are.
The helicopter shuttled the media 2 at a time. The ride only lasted a few minutes, but it was a white-knuckle ride for someone who's never taken a trip on a whirly-bird before. Climbing through the air felt like a roller coaster. There were no doors, providing a clear view of the brush and rough terrain below. Finally, we landed at the spot described by Carter, another small meadow at the bottom of the hill.
Well, then everybody has to hike, and then it's expected to be a crawl, about 200 yards through brush. The area full of trees. Right now, we'll be warned about heat exhaustion.
The climb up the hill through the brush brought out the levels of desperation these drug cartels engaged to grow their stash. We were lucky enough to get car and helicopter rides most of the way. Now the tough hike begins. The brush was low enough that we literally had to climb on our hands and knees. If we had enough clearing to stand, there was always exposed branches to rip through our clothing or cause a scrape or bruise. Finally along the way, evidence along the makeshift trail of marijuana growing operation, discarded pesticide bottles, and the wayward marijuana leaf. Also, miles of irrigation hose line. Some of it was buried as to avoid detection. The hoses in this case started at a running creek, using gravity to bring the water to the plants. The main hose lay under the dirt, while smaller tubes carried the water to the various plants growing out of the ground. Just who is tending these pot-growing sites? Lieutenant Marsh Carter.
They're citizens of Mexico. They are either recruited out of villages in Mexico or from local towns here. Most of the people tend to recruit people from their own state or geographical area for Mexico. They have some trust with those people. They think they can rely on each other.
But these drug growers may be victims themselves. Carter says the workers are forced into labor.
If somebody brings them, they have to pay a fee to that person or that organization that brings them in. They're told once they get up here to work off that fee for either them or their families that they're going to work here in the marijuana gardens.
If they don't comply, the drug lords threaten their families back at home. Further up the hill, a Coleman burner is on a makeshift stand built out of notched sticks. The propane tank needed to make food are also left behind. And then there's the trash from the discarded food. Bags of potatoes, tuna cans, hot sauce, all trashing the forest. Keep in mind, someone had to hike all this in here. Meanwhile, law enforcement officers continued to cut and bag marijuana plants. After filling a big duffel bag full, the helicopter with the long rope attached returns. They attach the bag and away it goes into the day sky. The marijuana gardeners were long gone.
It looks like the suspects may have left 1 to 2 days ago just by the activity that the bear came into. They may have seen something that spooked them that thought law enforcement was coming.
However, when we arrived, we saw that bag shredded. Evidence of a bear. When the operation's over, some of the marijuana is kept as evidence. Sergeant Jim Frank says the rest is disposed of.
We have an excavator dig a 20-foot deep hole, push them in there, cover it up with dirt, drive back and forth over it, and basically it's buried.
On special assignment, David Taub, KMJ News.